So the Senate Republicans released another stimulus package proposal that hopefully will get voted on later this week in the Senate. Now it's being called the Delivering Immediate Relief to America's Families, Schools, and Small Businesses Act. This is kind of like the skinny package 2.0. There were some adjustments to it, including a 529 college savings plan adjustment, a PPP second round of funding, and an additional forgiveness adjustments, like there weren't enough adjustments for the forgiveness. We're also going to talk about additional unemployment benefits and a whole bunch of other stuff that's in this stimulus package proposal. But before we do, if this is your first time at our channel or you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button at the bottom. My name is Travis Sickle, certified financial planner, helping you reach your financial goals. So this thing is a doozy, 285 pages, and I'm just going through it. Now this is just the preliminary things that I'm going through, not every single line item, because it is 285 pages and there's quite a bit. So I'm going to give you the quick rundown on what I've looked at so far in this bill. And we're looking at $6 billion for vaccine funding, $20 billion for Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. There's going to be $31 billion for public health and social services to their emergency fund, and an additional $16 billion for the public health and social services emergency fund. And that's for preventing, preparing, and responding to the coronavirus. $10 billion for back to work childcare grants, $15 billion for state and local funding. And that's a big one. The reason why previous stimulus packages have not been moving forward is a lack of state and local funding that the Democrats want, that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been talking quite a bit about. Almost every single point goes back to state and local funding. So I don't know if the $15 billion is quite enough to meet what she wants, but we'll see. And then there's going to be $150 billion for the Educational Stabilization Fund, $20 billion for the Office of the Secretary, and that is specifically to support agricultural producers, and $500 million for fisheries disaster assistance. Now that is only equal to $268 billion, and the total package includes $296 billion. Now the two pieces that I did not see amounts for were the PPP funding, which we'll talk a little bit more in just a minute, and the additional unemployment benefits. Both of them are in the proposal, but it's not clear exactly how much it's being funded with. Now, I did print out this beast of a stimulus package, just 285 pages, because I couldn't highlight in Adobe PDF because it was a locked PDF. But in any case, I'm going to pull it up on the screen so you can see what I'm looking at as we go through these different pages. So the first part of this stimulus package proposal is including all of the liability protections, but it's not just for small businesses. It's also including all of the healthcare workers. And this is to limit the litigation in not just for small businesses, but also employers with their employees, schools, universities, and even healthcare workers. So it's across the board just to limit litigation. And that's what the liability protection is mostly focused on. So as we begin to open up the country and we continue to move forward, there's not just going to be endless lawsuits. Now, going to the unemployment benefits are going to go until December the 27th, or what the proposal. Everything I'm talking about is just a proposal at this point for the stimulus package. But the additional unemployment will go until December the 27th, 2020, and that is going to be for $300 in addition. So basically what we have right now is $300, not in every single state like South Dakota, but it's going to be $300 and will go for the rest of the year. So that'll be for everybody, not just which states want to be in the FEMA program. And this will replace that program with Trump's executive order. So this is in lieu of, so it's $300. And something that I didn't see in the stimulus package, so it might replace it, was that minimum of $100 in order to qualify for that additional $300 that was provided by the executive order. So this would expand that amount, or expand the opportunity for more people to receive that $300 who are also on unemployment. In continuing the Paycheck Protection Program, I didn't see exactly how much they were going to fund with the PPP program for a second round, but they're also going to expand the forgiveness and what you can do for a qualified expense. So the list is pretty large, and it's covering property damage costs, covered supply costs, covered worker protection expenditures. And it appears that it's also including payments for any business software or cloud computing services that facilitates businesses' operations, product or service delivery, the processing, payment, or tracking of payroll expenses, human resources, sales, and billing functions, or accounting or tracking of supplies, inventory, records, and expenses. So it is expanding quite a bit to cover more expenses in order to use up the PPP program funds. And the PPP funds are also expanding what qualifies. So if you've seen around town, any of those plexiglass windows or new drive-throughs, all that stuff looks like it's going to be covered with the PPP funds. So it's that additional 40%. Now, again, this is just a proposal, so it's not passed just yet, but this is what it's being proposed as, and it's including drive-through window facilities, an indoor-outdoor or combined air or air pressure ventilation or filtration system, a physical barrier such as a sneeze guard, so that's the plexiglass, and an indoor, outdoor, or combined commercial real property, on-site or off-site health screening capabilities, or there's a whole bunch of other stuff here to basically expand what that 40% covers. So that is for the PPP funding. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the PPP forgiveness for the first round, which is also including of the second round. And then I'm going to talk about the opportunity for a second round. So looking at the first round, and it sounds like they want to make it even simpler to get forgiveness. So they want to make it basically for loans that are under $150,000. Those $150,000 are basically going to get this. They're going to have to sign and submit to the lender a one-page online or paper form. Now, that's it. So you're not even at this point submitting the supporting documentation that was currently required to be submitted, but the lender was going to hold on to it. Now it seems like it's going to be the small business's responsibility just to hang on to this paperwork. And it is going to be for 4 years following the submission of the form and with respect to other records for the 3-year period following submission of the form. Now, on the first skinny package, it was just 1 year. So they switched it from 1 year, and probably nobody saw that, but they switched it from 1 year, keeping the records, to the 3 and 4 years. So here it's saying for the 4-year period following submission of the form and with respect to other records for 3 years following submission of the form. So that looks like it's just going to make it really simple to submit this online application. I'm sure the lenders will come up with an online version, and basically it's going to be click, 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 and submit. And it sounds like it's going to be easier on the lenders, including the small business owners, for under $150,000. And it doesn't look like it's going to be that taxing for somebody who has a loan from $150,000 or small business that has a loan from $150,000 to $2 million. Now, over $2 million, everyone's getting audited over $2 million. That's what Mnuchin said last week when he was testifying in Congress. But from that $150,000 to $2 million, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that difficult either. You just have to make sure that you're maintaining those records just the same as $150,000 and under. And it says it right there, is not required to submit the supporting documentation described in paragraph 1 or 2 of subsection E. So it seems like it's going to be really easy for anyone that's 2 million and below for small businesses to get this thing submitted and completed. Now, for round 2 of the PPP program, it's also including all those businesses that were in business as of February 15th, 2020. So it went through basically every cohort of a business that was in business for 2020 and what you're going to compare those numbers to. So the program is virtually the same as round 1, where it's going to be comparing one time frame to another. But the kicker here, or the difference, you have to show that your revenues are down by 35%. So 35% was is the threshold now for this proposal. Previously, it was pegged at 50%. So this is going to include more small businesses. So that threshold is 35%. And it will still be the average monthly payroll times 2.5. So it's basically the same math as you're running in the first round. And for the next section, we're going to talk about the educational funding. Now, this looks like it's for Section 529 plans. And the change here is for 529 plans, what recently changed was that you can use 529 plans for K through 12. Now, it was up to $10,000, but you can only use it for basically going to school. You couldn't use it for a lot of other expenses. So this is expanding it quite a bit. And what you're going to be able to use these funds for is curriculum and curriculum materials, books and other instructional materials, online education materials, probably the biggest one, online educational materials, tuition for tutoring or educational classes outside of the home. So it's basically expanding the uses of the 529. Now, moving forward, will this make a whole lot of sense if you don't have a 529? Probably not, because the benefit of a 529, because it's after tax dollars, you have to put it into the account and the account has to grow. So the real benefit is having the money invested over a longer period of time. So in general, the 529 plan will make more sense for college rather than these immediate expenses. But if you already have a 529 plan and you want access to use it for homeschooling or schooling at home, then either one, then you could potentially use it for that reason. Now, there's a lot more details that are in this 285 pages, and I've only gone through it briefly. So if you have something specific or specific questions, let me know in the comments down below. Now, whether or not it's going to get passed as is probably unlikely, especially with only $15 billion for state and local funding, and the Democrats and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have made it clear. Now, there's a ton more information in here on what this stimulus package will cover. I just wanted to go over some of the highlights, briefly going through it. Now, only having $15 billion in this next stimulus package, it's unlikely that this thing is going to get passed, because all we've been hearing is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying that she wants state and local funding. But I don't think $15 billion is quite going to meet that expectation. But you can see in some of the language that it's expanding what the provisions are being used for. For example, what we talked about, the PPP funds being used for the plexiglass in the windows or the drive-throughs, then that is an expanding what those funds could be used for. So it is targeted in what this money is being presented as, but it's unclear if it's going to even pass the Senate, let alone get through the House and onto President Trump. But in any case, there is enough detail in here that this isn't just being jammed through. It does look like they're taking the time to go through each one of these points. But if you have any questions on anything specific in the stimulus package, let me know in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave your comments down at the bottom.